Viviette is a puzzle survival horror game in which your decisions change the outcome of the story. It was released on Steam in October 2018 and was ported to the Switch in January of 2019. Hello everybody, my name is EK and you're watching EK Tech. Now, I am not the horror game kind of guy, and even when I do play horror games, I don't even finish them usually, so I am not someone who's really into horror games, but this game was so good I actually finished it twice, just to get the good ending. You play as Jules, initially waking up in a hospital bed wondering why you are there. As the inspector starts asking you to explain what happened, you start to recall. This is where the game shows you the island where you, your friends and your sister Felice went. Upon looking around the island, you notice your friends are gone and Felice seems to be displaying some rather murderous characteristics. As you go through the game, you learn about the characters, the house and its secrets hidden within. The game has a huge amount of interactable objects, and interacting or not interacting with these objects totally changes what happened later on in the story. On my first playthrough, I went through pretty much entirely blind with some slight hints from guides here and there, and I spent about a good 2.5 hours trying to finish the game. Now, fortunately, I was playing this game with my girlfriend, so the puzzling was sort of like a combined effort, and I'm pretty happy about that, because otherwise I think the game would have taken me well over 3 hours. Yeah. Having seen the worst possible ending, which is also the most common one, the one that pretty much everyone's going to get, we decided to go through the game again. This time we used a guide and we managed to finish the game in about 1 hour and 50 minutes because, both of us knew where to go pretty well and the guide helped us out, so, the total package made us go through the game pretty much twice as fast. Okay, so the story of the game is pretty good, but what is the gameplay itself like? Alright, so even though I just mentioned I'm talking about gameplay, I'm going to start us off with the sound design, as it is absolutely incredible. Your footsteps make a creaky sound, your breath is audible after running, and doors opening run shivers down your spine. Combine this with the incredible subdued musical score and the setting is near perfect. In these aspects, the game feels a lot like watching a well-structured horror movie. Alongside this creepy soundscape, you are, as I mentioned previously, being hunted by your rather murderous sister. Hearing her open doors while you're in the middle of reading a document or figuring out puzzles creates a very tense experience. As she wanders around the house, she shows off the vocal range of a demon straight from hell. The game uses its pixel art style very, very well. The lack of color and creepy surroundings work very well with the already creepy atmosphere created by the sound design. As you wander around, you run into paintings displaying horrifying things as well as statues of the almost demonic looking creatures. The game combines all the previously mentioned characteristics with some actually very simple gameplay. You can walk, run, interact with items and activate or deactivate your lantern. Apart from some subtle hints, the game does not really tell you where to go. While you explore, read and puzzle your way through the game, you'll be looking around every corner to see whether Felice is right about there. Now, this review may sound very positive, and in all honesty, in general, I am very positive about the game. But there's one thing about this game that I do feel like I need to touch upon, because there's one thing that I did not like about the game as much, and this is that some of the puzzles sort of require you to have a PhD in some specific area. For example, there's one puzzle, and this puzzle requires you to figure out what types of creatures are displayed on the board. And to someone who is a native English speaker, which I am not, this might be very easy. But as someone who is not a native English speaker, honestly I had no idea what they were or what they were classified as. So I had a very hard time figuring out what I had to do. I had to resort to going to Google, had to resort to figuring out what exactly this classification of creature is, only to solve the puzzle back in game. So while this is sort of fun, it is a bit tricky and it takes you out of the experience. As I mentioned, I played through the entirety of the game twice. One great thing that I noticed while on my second playthrough is that the puzzles seem to be randomly generated, or at least to a certain extent randomized. Because when you have the puzzles, yes, the concept is still the exact same. It's still do this specific thing in these specific boundaries, but the set pieces change. So for example, one of the puzzles requires you to activate specific buttons depending on where a specific map in a different room tells you which ones you have to activate. So the puzzle is the exact same, but the thing is, these maps, they seem to be randomly generated, so this means that the buttons will differ with every playthrough. So yes, you can use a guide and the guide will tell you, hey, the map that you need is right about there. You go there, you grab the information, you go back into the room and you input it. But it still requires you to translate the map into input commands. So you can't just walk up to the latest puzzle and be like, okay, I'm gonna input this, 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 and this, and this, and I'm done with the game, speedrunning it in like 15 minutes or so. You actually have to go through the entire game, even if you know what you're doing. Finally, I feel like I should touch upon one thing, and that is, of course, it's a horror game. How scary is this game? Now, as I mentioned, I'm not a horror game kind of person. I have tried playing Alien Isolation, and I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna refund it after being a couple of hours in. So, I'm not the best with horror games. I'm great with horror movies, but horror games, I don't like having to play through them. I can do it, but, you know, I don't like it. But this game is the right amount of scary and, you know, casual for me, because yes, you're being chased, but you're always faster than her. So if you know where you're going, if you know the way to get rid of her, then you can always outrun her. So there's no tension of you dying apart from you having to pay proper attention. There is, of course, still tension. The AI is actually very good, because in a lot of games, I feel like the enemy is always omnipresent. So you're in the west wing of a building, and 5 minutes later you're in the east wing of the building, and all of a sudden she's there as well, and like she's everywhere, all over the place. In this game, it really does feel like the AI or the villain, enemy, whatever you want to call it, Felice, is wandering around, actually opening doors, going to different rooms, and is on some sort of a pattern. Of course, she's on a pattern depending on where you are in the story, but she's on some sort of a pattern, and you can actually evade her pattern. So I feel like this is very realistic. It's still scary, because every time you open a door, you're like, could she be here? I don't know, could she be? So there is a lot of tension, but it's not super scary to the point where you're like, okay, around every corner, I'm going to die. All in all, I find this game to be well worth its €10 asking price. It's a tad bit short. Yes, the game is about 2.5 hours, so is it worth your €10 in terms of hours spent? Maybe not, but it's a good experience. The game utilizes its art style very well, the game utilizes its soundscape very, very well. I'm actually super surprised about this one. The story is quite okay, it's nothing too spectacular, and the action is most certainly there. So all in all, I think it's a very complete package, and I do recommend picking it up. It's a great game to be played either on Switch, and I'm assuming the Steam version is pretty much identical to the gameplay, so pick which one you prefer. Usually Steam has sales, so you might want to look at that. Anyway guys, that's it for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you are picking up this game or you've played this game, please feel free to let me know in the comments down below. I love going into a bit of a conversation about this game, seeing what you guys think. If you have any questions regarding this game or anything else in general, feel free to ask them in the comments down below as well. If you liked the video, however, then please feel free to subscribe to the channel. I will be doing these videos pretty much weekly as long as I can keep up my reviews. Like the video if you liked it, and most of you guys, have a nice day. I'll see you around.